So couples and single parents no longer able to receive more than £500 a week. And then if you're a single person with no children, the limit will be £350. Let's go to Phil Agulnik, who's director of an online benefits calculator called Entitled To. Phil, can we just run down the benefits that this relates to, the ones that you have to qualify for?
Okay, almost all benefits are included. The main exceptions are disability benefits, if you're disabled, and something called working tax credit, if you're in work. And that's because people who are disabled or in work are not subject to the benefits cap.
Mm-hmm. And the working tax credit, how does that work?
Okay, so if you've got a child and you work more than 16 hours a week, you qualify, and if you're on a low earnings, you qualify for a wage top-up. Wage top-up is called working, and that's what the government want people who are affected by the benefits cap to do, to get a job paying for over 16 hours a week, and then the benefits cap won't apply.
So how is it calculated at the moment of how much that wage can be topped up to? Is there a limit?
No, it all depends on your circumstances. So the idea that you're in work and you don't get benefits and you're out of work and you do is wrong. What the government's doing is they're looking at your needs, which are to do with your housing costs and how many children you have, and then they withdraw benefits as your earnings go up. So if you've got a big family, you could be still having benefits on earnings of £500 a week or £600 a week. So the people who move into work will still be receiving a fair amount in benefits, but they're doing what they want to do, which is have a job.
Right, because we have had people contact us many times to say, I know of people, or I've worked alongside people who refuse to work more than 16 hours, because it all changes, it affects their benefits. Would that situation be any different now?
No, well, look, if you're affected by the benefits cap, when you're out of work, and you're not affected when you're in work, what we call the return to work, the extra amount that you get when you're working compared to be on benefits, is a lot bigger for people affected by the cap. So if you are one of those people, it really is worth getting a job paying more than for more than 16 hours because you're outside of the cap. So if your benefits are being reduced by, say, £100 a week when you're out of work, if you move into work, you get those £100 back, if you like.
Is this because you used to be an economist for the DWP? You think it's a good idea?
No, I don't have a view on whether it's a good idea or a bad idea. Our job, what Entitled2.com does, is just tell people what their benefits are and what they can claim. Whether changes to the benefit system are a good idea or not isn't for me to decide.
No, and when people are typing in their figures and everything into the calculator and deciding, you must be constantly having to change the formulas because of all the changes to welfare reforms and the pace with which they're coming.
Yeah, there is quite a lot of changes at the moment, and of course there's a much bigger change happening sometime after October, which is universal credit. So you're right, there are a lot of changes to the benefit system at the moment, and a lot of people are being affected by it.
You say you haven't got an opinion either way, but as a former economist for the Department of Work and Pensions, have you got an opinion or any thoughts on how much the government are going to make from this? Some critics are saying, not that much in the grand scheme of things, Phil.
Yeah, the key thing to remember is this: it's not a whole lot of people who are affected. As you said earlier, in the North East it's only 1,000 people. There's a limit to how much money you can save off 1,000 people. Nationally, 60,000 people, that's not a lot, so you're not going to be saving vast amounts of money.
So this is tiny. This is a tiny...
You're right. It's not principally about saving money, because the amount of money that you save is pretty small. What the government would argue is about a principle, okay? And the principle being about saying you should be in work, and for people who are getting a lot in benefits, we're going to create this extra incentive to go into work. That's the way the government would put it.
And one of the main criticisms, there was a housing benefit angle, and maybe the North East could become a bit of a benefit ghetto because of our cheap housing up here as compared to London, the South East, the home counties and so on. But the other side is that larger families would be hit hardest, and there is absolutely barely, of all of the texts which are flooding in at the moment, Phil, any support for that at all. People are just saying, well, you shouldn't have been so irresponsible as to have 10 children.
I mean, different people are going to have different views about whether people are choosing to have children, or that's the way their life turned out, or, different family setups. I mean, in general, if the government gets involved in telling people about moral choices, they often come in for a lot of criticism. But maybe this is one where everyone's in agreement that people shouldn't have big families. I mean, again, it's not for me to decide what the appropriate size of a family is. Indeed.
Thank you very much, Phil. Really do appreciate it. Phil Agulnik there, who's director of Entitled To, an online benefits calculator. That man is good with figures.
Yes, and